Hey, what is going on YouTube? Aaron here. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. And guys, let's play a game. Let's play two truths and a lie. I am wearing a tie-dye sweatshirt that says I am Knuff from the Barbie movie. I am taller than Chili, and I set the Cherbourg damage record. Well, if you guys watch my streams at all, you know that the first two are true, and I actually don't know about the third. I can only imagine that I do not have the Cherbourg damage record, and I know you're thinking, Aaron, wow, you just clickbaited us. Well, I didn't to a certain extent because the current Cherbourg damage record on the World of Warships Legends official Discord is, I think, 27,000 damage. And we actually rack up quite a pretty damage total in this game, but only because it was truly just an ironic meme of a game. But let's have some fun with it. And I'm also playing the Cherbourg. Part of the reason I'm playing the Cherbourg is because the Brest comes out in a few days, and I cannot wait to get my hands on Brest. Do you get it? I'm just kidding. I hope you guys could hear me wheeze. But it is about to be the weekend. Sorry for no Friday feature. I am, just super busy. But regardless, we tried to pop out a video for you guys, and this was it. I initially decided that I was going to abandon my side. And this is actually, to be quite honest, this is one of the only maps you could do that on. But considering that I have the engine boost with Go All Out, and we were kind of memeing our commanders in this situation, we decided to cut it back and go out here to the westerly flank and use our speed as an advantage. As most of you probably already know, the Cherbourg is the tier 7 of the new French heavy line, or the super heavies, whatever they're called. But basically, they're like mini battleships. They have all of the weaknesses of cruisers and none of the strengths of battleships. You have 305mm guns, but they're pretty trolly, and on top of that, you don't have the best reload. Now, with the commander we're running, we do get Go All Out, which is why we're trying to meme kind of out here on the flank. And with the AL St. Louis commander, you do get an extra reload booster, so we actually kind of waste our reload boosters in this game. But this game is kind of one of those middle grounds where all of the strengths of the ship kind of fall into our hands, including getting a nice cheeky citadel on a cross map shot there on that Massachusetts, I believe. So when the guns hit, they do hit hard, but you will see the accuracy throughout this game, and it is much to be desired. So I think if they got a slight buff, honestly, to even accuracy, these things would be pretty good, for being that alternate cruiser. Now, I will say that I don't think they fulfill the role of cruisers how they should. And what I mean by that is cruisers are meant to DPM. They are also meant to support, they're support ships, right? They should be near caps and able to deter destroyers as well as potentially ward off battleships given the right set of circumstances. Now, of course, every game is different, but this game actually plays into the strength of this ship, especially out here on this flank. You saw a few of those middle ships coming this way, and on top of that, all three of the ships out on this flank turn in this direction. And that is when we notice we have a broadside New Orleans right in front of us, and here begins the series of unfortunate RNG events. Now, I did probably misaim that shot there. We went ahead and popped one reload booster, but the shot previously, we only got overpens. And as a result, the New Orleans is still sailing rather broadside, so we're going to aim a little bit lower. He decides to turn out, and this is when we get rewarded slightly, but still, look at that dispersion. There are so many shells above, so many below. We do get 2 pens and 1 overpen, but how many times can someone get away with sailing broadside before you truly get frustrated with the ship? Now, of course, we all know that, getting broadsides and all of the shells to go exactly where you want them is a factor of RNG, random number generator. Every time you shoot a salvo, each turret has its own calculation or roll of the dice, basically, of, the salvo you're going to get. Sometimes you get the God tier, you could fit all of them in a coffee cup, and then other times you get all of them all over the place. And with the French, it's usually all over the place. So just something to keep in mind when you are playing these ships, but that is, again, part of the reason I wouldn't, I wouldn't take this ship out unless I'm wearing a tie-dye sweatshirt that my fiance got me from the Barbie movie. But alas, some of the fun that, you can find sometimes in Legends is trying out new things. Now, the last time I tried something new in a different relationship, I wound up with a finger. Never mind.
What did he say?
Let's get back to the game here. You can see that we are definitely on the weak side, a few of those ships around A. Now, our battleship did actually manage to get his way into A, but this is a situation where we just kind of out here alone on the flank, and we definitely want to kite. Now, we all know that the French ships are actually pretty decent at kiting as they take after their army throughout pretty much every war in the terms of retreating. No, I'm just kidding. But cutting away in this situation is pretty good. One of the things that will hurt you, though, is the turret traverse. It is pretty abysmal on these things. As you can see, it feels like we are hand cranking these things to get them around. But as you can see, as a result of us kiting and our teammates kind of taking over there near A, those ships have now turned back, and now we have access to their broadsides. So in this situation, kiting the way we did, it allowed us to gain access to their broadsides, and if not, our friendlies would have had access to their broadsides. So just a good little tip and trick talking about what to do if you are overrun. This Tirpitz, he was focused on us for a little bit, but he decided to focus on one of the other battleships, either the Borodino or that other battleship on the south side of A there, and as a result, he has now given us complete broadside. And I could have shot at that New Orleans, but the assessment of threats, this Tirpitz is moving in. He's a battleship. He's got better armor, and I'm not really worried about a New Orleans. So in this situation, it benefits me to take out this Tirpitz first and save the New Orleans for later. We are also still being shot at by a Scharnhorst, but again, assessment of threats, the Scharnhorst can actually not overmatch us. The Tirpitz can. The Tirpitz has a little bit more health and a little bit better armor. So sometimes you do need to shoot at specific ships. Now, of course, destroyers in most circumstances always take priority on that list, and I wish our team was following that kind of code of unwritten rules, right? You remember that quote in Pirates of the Caribbean, it's in the code. Well, there's a lot of things there in the code that my team is not doing in this game, and one of them is simply living and not YOLO rushing in. Yeah, it is. This game is a little bit longer than some of the games we had the other night on stream that lasted about 5 minutes, but you can just kind of look at the scoreboard. And I will say our team did a pretty good job of securing the caps, but I feel like some people reach this point in their head. It's like, okay, I got a cap, now I'm just going to rush in and just, there's nothing else. And it's like, no, that's like halftime in football, right? We see that the clock is at the 7 or 8 minute mark there, and we still have half of the game to go. And you see a lot of teams come out of the locker room, up one touchdown or goal, and that is it. But the Scharnhorst has decided to go back to A as another one of our battleships goes down. And at this point, I'm kind of just... I'm just, trying to have some fun with it, trying to meme. You are never going to get 8 teammates to cooperate correctly, and probably if you did, the game would probably be over in 5 minutes because of the players you are going against. But here's what I'm talking about in terms of that reload booster I mentioned earlier. Definitely a waste to kind of use it, utilize it on a broadside Scharnhorst here, instead of really saving it for this Borodino or a few of the other ships we actually meet later in the game. But at this point, you can kind of see the caps swung in our deficit on ships, and we are not going to win this one. But what we can do is double Citadel a New Orleans, and if we would have gotten, I think, one more penetration, we would have gotten the Dev Strike. But that is probably one of the best salvos I have had besides a broadside salvo on a Veneto earlier, in this update cycle. But the guns, they do hit hard when they hit, but the issue is getting them to hit. I just feel like I get a lot more spaghetti splattered on the wall than I do a nice French painting or bottle of wine or whatever artistic reference you want to use in that situation. Now, thinking out loud as I was on stream here, I wanted to go for A to get the cap, but I just kind of said, you know what, the game is over. This Massachusetts and Borodino are sailing broadside, and if you guys know anything about the Borodino, it has a massive, massive citadel. Now, that, of course, the Borodino was in rental phase, so by the time you're watching this video, it could have already changed, but regardless, that's what my decision was in this situation. And I actually kind of want to point to that topic. Going into A here probably is the more winning play, even though there's no winning play when you get on a team like this. I had a guy message me, and he was asking about position and stuff, and it's just his team basically failed him is what the moral of that story was. But sometimes there is no winning play, guys. I just want that to be, abundantly clear. He said, what should I have done in this situation? Number one, it's hard to decipher from a certain, snapshot in the game. Well, did your team leave their side immediately? Did you take a massive amount of broadside damage, etc.? So again, there's never a one-size-fits-all. I just try to emphasize these rules, right? They're just a set of guidelines. Like, don't leave your spawn. Try and shoot at destroyers. And again, some games you will get. You might have a game where you need the points from a battleship, and a battleship is really low, so you should shoot him. But yeah, that's just kind of off topic there. So in this situation, I decided that I have a reload booster, I want to use it, and I wanted to have a little bit of fun. And we basically accomplished that goal with the best looking salvo I have ever gotten in this thing. 3 citadels, 4 pens, and you can see my facial reaction there. So yes, if this thing can shoot like that every time, this ship would be one of the strongest tier 7 cruisers in terms of those heavy cruisers that don't necessarily have radar. But you get salvos like we get on the follow-up shot on this Massachusetts here, which 3 of them were pretty good, and we actually do get some decent damage, but one was on the left, one was high, one was right for 50% accuracy on, on a shot that was 9.2 kilometers away. So yeah. But anyway, we actually did draw this game back a little bit closer than it honestly should have been, considering our deficit just a few moments ago. So the moral of this video and the message behind this one is sometimes when you get shit teammates, say fuck it and YOLO rush in. Now, of course, every single German battleship main just heard that, and they are going to press full W key or A or whatever it is on the worst console, PlayStation. No, I'm just kidding. People are going to get offended by that. But all the German and American battleship mains with their secondary builds are going to do that at the start and throw the games. But instead of just letting the frustrations of Legends get to you, just sometimes have some fun with it, right? We are playing in arguably one of the worst tier 7 cruisers. We already have a high caliber, and we have some potential left in this game. Now, unfortunately, this Massachusetts, I believe, is actually a viewer, and because of the play he made, it was one of those plays that you don't necessarily, suspect or can account for because of how just unique it is. It wasn't the wrong play, it wasn't the right play, but because of what he did, we aren't able to push into Bravo, and because we only have a Friesland out there challenging that mass, I was trying to help that Friesland out, and I should have switched to HE a little bit sooner, but he showed that he was broadside. In that previous salvo, he was broadside, but unfortunately, with the year-long reload that we have, he's now angled up, and the only thing we can really do is either try and knock out his guns or hit his superstructure. But we have since switched to the HE, and again, here's just that accuracy we're talking about. I gave everyone on his boat a nice bath there with all of these shells that landed around him. So you get some beautiful salvos, such as we did earlier with the 3 citadels and the chunky damage on that Borodino, and then you get salvos like that. It's just how the cookie crumbles. And it feels like, I don't know, I was watching some streams of other players sometimes, and it feels like people just get the cookie to crumble their way a lot more than I do. But as we learn right there, 4 pens, they must have hit like the main armor belt. But with 305mm guns, I feel like they should have gotten the elimination. And here, I don't know if this Massachusetts either popped off a heal or was getting will to rebuild from the destroyer, but I can only assume it was a heal because the destroyer is still in the middle of the map, as we find out a little bit later on. So must have been one of his last or super heals, or I don't know, but we can see that he is not dying, and that is a little bit of a problem. So we angle up to him just a bit. We kind of open. The French cruisers, as you guys know, these super heavies here, don't have the best bow armor, so you want to turn away. Unfortunately, the mass did actually get our Friesland, and that is kind of at the point where I realized, well, this game is pretty much over. We're probably not gonna catch this destroyer, and this Wichita back here has pretty much full health. So unless we can get his broadside, unless he is just a standard Legends player and wants to give us broadside, that's what's going to happen. But we can see that this Crisciolo used his smokescreen. Our Zeton decided to go broadside, and he takes some torpedoes from that, what was it, Udachi? Yeah, so nothing really left we can do in this situation except potentially pray and get lucky. But we're just going to push in here. There's only 1 minute and 42 seconds left, so definitely not going to win on points, and probably it wouldn't put it past me to spot this destroyer, but it would have absolutely been the worst play of all time to spot this destroyer. And here is just when we get absolutely, completely trolled to the absolute maximum by RNG. Crisciolo decides to turn broadside. I don't know why. He was probably trying to get all guns on target. Unfortunately, we have HE loaded, and we only do 4,000 damage with no fire. And we know that he actually put out one of his damage cons because he took a Zeiten torpedo. So that fire probably would have been the death of him. But because we didn't get that fire, I think we hit either 7 or all 8 and still no fire. And that's kind of one of the other drawbacks of these ships, is just the lack of... I don't know why they don't give it something, but there we actually do connect the AP, get a beautiful Citadel with the Confederate medal, take ourselves up to a pretty decent damage total. And here, as I said earlier, unless this Wichita is a completely Legends player, but it appears he was. He was completely broadside. It still would have been questionable whether or not we got the Citadel, but for the time being, the Cherbourg unofficial damage record, and of course I'm memeing, but you guys just saw how painful it was to work our way up to just what I consider a moderate damage total at 163,000 there. But second place finish, high caliber and Confederate. So yeah, a fun little video for you guys before we get the Brest and hopefully leading into the weekend. So the weekend and Brests, man, my two favorite things. So hope you guys enjoyed that one. I know it's kind of a little bit of me blabbering on here, but we had to do this one pretty quick today. So love you guys. I'm out. Peace.